It's Christine Wilson and Safira Galoob, and you'll thank us later. Tune in every week and hang out with us because we're a lot of fun.
And no topics off the record, we decided. We are open to talking about everything together with a bit of a sense of humor, a lot of self-forgiveness, a lot of grace, and always being wiser on the other end. Bring it on, girls and boys.
You know what? You'll thank me later that I'm telling you about this. You'll thank me. They're going to hate us, Safira. It's going to be nuts.
Well, good afternoon, Miss Christine.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to see you today because, I think you and I have both been running in different directions. And every time we get back together, even though we see each other and talk to each other several times a week, when we go out and do our things in the world and we come back, I always feel like we have so much to share with one another.
Yes, I agree. And you know what I love, Safira? I was just thinking about this the other day. You and I can have a work conversation about work stuff. We can have a podcast conversation, and we can have a personal conversation. And they each have their wonderful value, and they're separate. And like the other shit doesn't invade each of those. They're each their own time and relationship with each other, which I think is so cool.
I don't have that dynamic with anybody else in my life. Everybody else is like bleed.
Yeah.
And it just all bleeds together. But for us, we really have lanes in which we interact with each other. And every lane, I value amazing things about you. I value different things about you. And I will say the thing that has been the most exciting thing about this project is that it is a place where I feel the most safe to be my best self in a professional environment. When you and I are just sitting out and having a cup of coffee or on a walk or something, of course I feel safe. And even in work environments, I feel safe because I know I'm in good hands with you and with your subject matter expertise. But in this environment, us having this, it's intentional sharing each of our experiences for audiences who we think will, one, benefit from them, but also we just want to share it because it feels like it's almost like it's documenting our lives in a really fun way for us. And hopefully people find value or at least entertainment from it.
Yeah. Well, and it makes us feel good too. I mean, honestly, this to me is better than therapy. I've said that before, but I don't want to do it to an audience of zero, but I almost get enough value out of it if you said to me, it's an audience of zero. Because you give me such wise information every time. And I feel so comfortable telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth in a way that I come away from the hour one. I mean, I love to talk, so I get to do my favorite thing, but I also get to learn, and I get to learn from someone who I really respect your point of view. And so, yeah, of course I want others to hear it. And I would love for this to be part of my true money-making career in life. But the joy just doesn't matter if there's a joy in it that is separate from all of the business side of it. So I love that. Have that.
I love it too. And don't kid yourself that every time I come in, I mean, whether it's my nail color or my jewelry or a habit that I incorporate because you've taught me something new, I always learn something new from you as well. So I'm grateful. And today's episode is kind of fun because I think both of us have women in our lives from kind of different decades and different places in their life. And I have recently been really putting myself out there for young women who are kind of designing their lives and designing their professional paths. And I think many of them see that I've had a really intentional way that I've paved my path. I've not, some people are like, well, I go where the wind blows. I'm like the opposite. I create my current, build my boat, put my boat in my current, and I blow my own wind to get myself there. Like I'm very, very not relying on anybody else but myself. And there are some things that I do on a daily basis just to keep the ships running on time and to also keep me sane. And none of them are brain surgery. And so we thought we would share today some of the things in our respective lives that we think allow us to have a success, both professionally, personally, emotionally. And none of these, again, they're not anything that's rocket science, but I think even just having awareness around it for us has been important. And maybe for our listeners, you guys having awareness around what works and what doesn't and put more energy into what works. So that's the topic for the day.
Habits and the habits that have helped us. I love it. I also have some bad habits. So I'd like your advice on some of those when we get to that part.
Yeah. So should we start with personal or should we start with professional?
I think personal always has to come first, right? If the personal doesn't have the basis, the professional might as well just be a train wreck too.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we just recorded an episode on sleep. And when I
Mhm.
was making my list for today's episode, I put some really fundamental, the personal thing, if you think about the way your life is personally, I actually put the first habits I put in related to the self physical care. And the first thing I put on my list was sleep.
Sleep. Yeah, 'cause if you don't have it, all the other things fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't do the other habits when you're in a fog.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I put the second thing on my list for me is my intermittent fasting
Yeah.
because it helps with my energy and it also helps with my weight management and it
Yep.
helps with my stability. Like everything about it for me, I put on my list my protein. Like these are the things that I put as successful habits.
Yeah, well, okay, so let's just talk about seriously, I think 3 of the things that are gonna be at the top for you are gonna be sleep, nutrition, and exercise. You prioritize those, and those are the foundation of a healthy life. Those are really good habits to prioritize. I don't prioritize all 3. Meh.
Well, here's the thing is that I'm not like some sort of rock star because on the exercise front, there are things I really enjoy doing and I do what I
Mhm.
enjoy and I do it when I enjoy it. So I don't
Right.
force myself to get up early or if I don't feel good that day, I don't do it. But I wake up and I go, "Oh, what exercise class am I going to do today?" or what walk am I going to do today? Or whatever it is. I just try to do something that I know will make my body feel better. And I am really lucky. The exercise that I do does actually make me feel good. I don't feel like it's not a chore for me to do. And
Yeah,
I know
you're
that
not painful and miserable to get through it.
right. Or I don't feel like I'm like punishing myself to go. And I do think for a lot of people that is painful and chore inducing. But honestly, when you read about, so this is I'm going to go a little bit, not to say dark, but a little bit profound. So I recently, one of the gifts I gave myself was the New York Times subscription.
Yeah,
So I
the
can get it.
best.
And so it's so much easier that versus just my Apple News because then I can kind of go through and see. And there was an article, I think it was New York Times. It actually could have been on my Apple News feed. There was a study done for people who were dying.
Mm.
And it was like a conversation like, what do you wish you would have done more of? And they think about like exercise, for example, they're like, oh, I have to exercise. It's like the mentality is, oh my God, my body is healthy enough that I get to exercise. What a
Oh,
blessing.
yeah.
And, that is, you think about your health as being like, it doesn't matter how successful you are or not. If you don't have your health, like forget about it. Whatever you're complaining about it, think about somebody who doesn't have their health, and then you will just recalibrate. But for me, I'm mindful that I won't always be in a place where exercise is an option. And so I do treat it as a luxury.
That's a really good point of view. I mean, I watched my father go from being just a regular physical fit person. He got COVID pretty
Yep.
late into COVID and then got long COVID. And I think he would say to you, being able to walk around the block is a luxury.
Yeah.
He does not take for granted because there were months that he could not have made it around the block, and he's not a person who really ever loved exercise, but just being able to have the energy to move his body is something he appreciates so much, after spending a year pretty much struggling to be able to be out of bed. And so, yeah, I'm an interesting one. I find 90% of exercise classes and almost any time in the gym to be not fun. I don't enjoy it. I like games, so I really like tennis because it's a game, but my commitment to being there regularly, it gets disrupted easily. Like, I don't seem to like any of the things that are easy to do, right? So, I like swimming, but then my hair's wet and the time at the pool is wet. I like to play tennis, but I gotta go get other people to play tennis. I've got to get the court. I have an elliptical I have an entire gym in my basement. And I'm pretty sure it's my ADHD that literally I find it boring. And the
Yeah.
more bored I am, the more I resent it, don't want to do it. I mean, I can have the TV on, I can play a book. I hate it. It's so boring. And so I need like that constant stimulation
Have
of
you ever
like,
worked with Have you ever worked with a trainer?
yeah, I love working out with a trainer. It's just the
Yeah.
expense of a trainer. I had a trainer for years, and I definitely really, really enjoyed it. And Yeah, but I mean, at this
If you
point,
ever wanted a trainer, by the way, I love working out with the trainer as well. And
yeah.
especially if we did like if we got a group of 4 or something like that together, you can count me.
Much more affordable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
love
I had a one shout out to Sadar. He was such a great trainer. Before that, I worked out with his brother. They both were like internationally recognized wrestlers from Iran. And they were just, they really understood how to push me in a way where they didn't put up with my bullshit, but they never made me hurt or feel miserable. So, anyway, many, many years with a trainer I really enjoyed. So, it's probably something I need to figure out
well, if
how
you
to
want to do that.
incorporate.
I have 2 more and then I'll pass it over to you
Yeah.
for your personal. So the other habit I have, actually, I have 3 more. Sorry. I said,
No, good. I like it. Give me more.
the other habit I have is saying no to people and things that don't give me joy. So I have really oriented my life to relationships, personal relationships who
Yeah.
support who I am as a human. Like if somebody is a friend, I don't care how many years they've been my friend or I've known them.
Yeah.
If I don't feel good with I'm with them, or I feel guilty when I'm with them, or something doesn't feel right, I will place them in a category where my husband kind of laughs at me. He's like, it's like taking a plant that you no longer want to nurture and you put it outside on the balcony, you just let it die. That is what
Yeah.
I do. And we've talked about that before, but I'm 100% focusing on people who show up for me and who make me feel good about who I am and are forgiving for me. So that is a successful habit. Another successful habit, this is more practical, is my husband and I have really clear rules in the house. And you guys, I mean, clear rules of who does what in the house.
Yeah.
And so, like, my husband makes the bed. That is the way it works. My son takes out the trash. That is the way it works. I actually don't do that much in the house because I'm the breadwinner, but just even having clear rules so I don't feel guilty about interfacing with that. I know you and your husband have your cards, so you'll have to talk about that a little bit. And then the other success that I have is I have a really specific routine from my work day until my personal day. So when I am ready to move from work, I literally run the bath water and
Yeah.
it's a trigger to my head that I take off my clothes, I get into the bath. And even if I just sit there for 10 minutes when I get out, it's almost like I have baptized myself.
You have shed the work part of the day.
Yes, yes. And then I go downstairs and I have dinner with my husband. And then I come upstairs and I get ready for my bed routine. But that bath is like this moment where, and I do it every single day. It is
Right.
like, and it is a trigger to me that says, okay, work is done,
Yep.
family now. And I think it's like my version of Severance, even though I know that that's not like really, it's not exactly that, but it's like
Yeah.
it's a demarcation of,
Yeah.
particularly when we work in the home environment. So those are my really successful habits that I think help me just stay balanced and sane and give me the energy to stay consistent because folks, this is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And I think they really contribute to my happiness. So those are my personal things.
I love them. I mean, so my life is not as well organized in many ways, but I do have a couple of habits. And one of them probably could go from personal to professional, but everything that happens in my life that I am obligated to show up to do goes on my calendar. Every single thing. So if I say to someone, I'm going to call you on Thursday, it goes on my calendar. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, it goes on my calendar. If other people need to be aware of something that they should be doing, that they get invited to that thing on my calendar. I live by that calendar. It's a digital calendar. This is not paper, so I can share it with others. And what it does is it makes me a consistent person who, when I say yes, I show up. So like I'm always flummoxed when someone texts me and says, "Are we still good for dinner tonight?" If I said yes, I put it on my calendar. Unless I'm sick, I will be at dinner tonight. You do not need to double check with me. I show up and my husband always says, like, the world just flakes out 90% of the time, but Christine will be there. She
Uh,
said yes, she will be there.
I
It
love it.
takes, yeah. And I use the calendar to keep me honest. I mean, if something ever doesn't make it on the calendar, there's a good chance I will flake out and forget because it really is a guide to my day.
Yeah.
And I try to look ahead and make plans for what is going to have a conflict or, if kids need to be in places where I'm not available to get them there or something like that. I use that as a way to really make sure I show up for people and then I commit to that.
It also is
Um,
a good record of where you've been. If someone's like,
yeah.
when's the last time we're together? We're like, oh, let me tell you, it's on my calendar.
Yes. And I learned this in college with a paper planner, and planned, and I have found my college one and looked back. And I mean, I wrote down like sorority date function, going out to the bar, this, that. I mean, I had every assignment, every class, everything always down. So this is a habit that I've had for a long time. My other thing is that I try to be consistent on the things that I do in the house. So we do have those cards. Oh God, what are they called? I just forgot.
Chore cards,
Well, they have
marital balance cards. Who does
I
what in the
forgot.
house?
They have
Yeah,
a cool name, but
that was Tippy.
they have all the things to,
Yeah.
everything from doing your taxes to whatever. And I try to consistently do the things that I am responsible for. And I think we talked the other day about how I wanted to give up the grocery shopping because my husband did such a good job. And he said, well, do you want to take the taxes? And I was like, nope, never mind. I'll hold on to that card. The cards are called Fair Play. Fair Play.
Fair Play. That seems like a perfectly appropriate way.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also find ways to make the things I'm responsible for manageable. So I will spend more money on groceries than others in order to have them delivered and for me to order them online. Because that means between two calls, I can spend 12 minutes and grocery shop versus the hour of driving to the grocery store or maybe two grocery stores, finding everything, bringing it home, unpacking it, and doing all that. So yes. Could you come down and say, well, you spent 27 more dollars because you paid the tip and the inflated cost of the delivery? And I will say, I really utilize technology
Yes.
as a enabler to do more in a day. And I have always been an early adopter of those things. And I know there's people who really enjoy going to the grocery store. They want to wander around. And there are days where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to BJ's and just wander around. And the only problem with that is I come home with like a TV and, 57 oranges and I didn't need
Listen,
them.
I actually really want you to, I think we should do a whole series. You're not done, by the way, talking about all the things that make you successful. We're going to do an audit of the way I navigate through the world, and you're going to find technology solutions on it, and then we're going to report out on it. I think people would find that so useful. Put that in the calendar for
Put that in the calendar.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I have a tool, a technology tool, an app, a thing for almost everything because I love it. I love it. I thrive on it. I'm like, let's get the newest, greatest app. Now, do some fizzle out and not? Yeah, of course. And some just financially don't make sense. But I love how I think technology is one of the most interesting things that have enabled my life to feel more enjoyable because I don't have to do a lot of the chores that life 10, 15, 20 years ago really consumed your life, doing those things. So I think that's one of my habits is utilizing technology to enable me to be able to do more. I do have a habit. I try very hard and I'm not perfect at this, but it's something I'm trying. I try to go in every day and look on Facebook birthdays, which is the only thing I use Facebook for at this point, other than work, and at least send a message to people that I want to connect with and wish them a happy birthday, because I found it such a fun way to reconnect with people that I otherwise might not talk to for years at a time or, until the trip to the beach where you see them one time a year. So I'm trying to be purposeful.
That's a very sweet gesture. I love
that. And it's a little bit selfish. Like it's really it's an easy way to not just text somebody and be like, "Hi," out of the blue, "Hello,"
Yeah.
It's an easy way to say, "Happy birthday. How are you? How are the kids? Miss you." But I'm trying to be more intentional about that. So it's something I'm trying to do and find the way to put that into my life. But I'm not perfect at it yet, but it's a habit I'm working on. Now, as far as the exercise, I have not ever successfully built that habit unless I had somebody to hold me accountable. So the trainer was really the way. So I am not a good person to say it's my habit just because I want it to be. I need the accountability. So there are plenty of things in my life where I need to build in either accountability partners or the money or the thing that will get me to show up.
At least you're aware of it and you're honest about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I mean, I can't tell you I just sweated for an hour because it's bullshit. I did not. I will always.
By the way, when I exercise, I don't always sweat.
Yeah. Well, as my doctor said to me, he goes, "You're at the age where I just need you to do 10 squats a day. Please just use your own weight as your resistance. Just do 10 squats a day. If you want to still be walking at 75, just do 10 squats a day." And I was like, I can do that. So that's a habit. I'm going to start 10 squats a day.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
But another habit that has been good and bad, but is that my mom and I talk to each other every day. I will say more than once a day sometimes is detrimental to our relationship. but
Mhm.
I do like to talk to my mom at least once a day. And, there's no one in the world that loves me more than my mother, right? Really, when it comes down to it. She loves me so much, and we are the same person, and we do butt heads, and we do have our moments, but that at least one connection a day, I found feeds my soul, and I really do need it, and if we can keep it to just that joyous place of love,
Mhm.
it is such a great habit.
That is
I
a really, really lovely habit. I know my mother listens to my podcast because she also is equally supportive, and I could do a whole lot better calling her every day. My mother's gonna be jealous that your mother gets to talk to you every day.
Yeah, it's really nice, and sometimes it's like, "I'm going to BJ's, do you need anything?" And it's pretty
Yeah.
simple. And yesterday, we had a long conversation where she was just reflecting on things from high school and friends, and she was going down memory lane, and it was fun to hear the stories, and, I don't even know why it came up, but it was just really enjoyable. So,
Yeah.
I
That
but
is a
we but
very that's a very valuable habit because that habit won't be around forever. You won't be able
Right,
to do it forever.
right, and I hope someday my kids will wanna talk to me at least a couple times a week. Yeah, so tell me about your professional habits.
So, yeah, my professional habits have actually evolved over time. And being an entrepreneur, I find that, there are elements of kind of the way that I work that are really contingent upon where that business is at that moment. But there are things that I think that kind of transpose irrespective where the business is. And so I am constantly thinking about, I've got a North Star in my business. Like, where do I want to land? Where do I want to be in my business? So, in my cannabis business, to be this public thought leader, this industry leader, like I'm constantly thinking about that. So kind of like what's my North Star? And that's a little bit of a that's that I can't do anything about every day, but I think about my tasks. And so interestingly, the way that you think about your calendar is a little bit about the way I think about on the professionalism thing. So some habits that I have, which people who know me a long time will actually be surprised to hear about this. A habit that I have tried very, very hard to do is to always show up on time.
Mhm.
And that is something that was not easy for me, and people who know me personally were like, "No way, she does not show up on time." But I really try to show up on time, and if I don't, I try to take accountability for it, and I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty good about it. I actually always try to get back to people. That is
Mhm.
something else that my mother will say on this podcast that she doesn't believe, and so to do that, she's like, "What? You never answer my call. You never answer my text." Like,
You have to
literally every
prioritize,
I know.
prioritize.
I kinda look through and even if I say, "You can't get back to me till this time," but just to acknowledge people's and maybe that's where I am in my career, and there'll be a time when I can't do that, and I have my team, like, "Please get back to this person and say, 'Please set a time for this,'" and so I really because I try to create the human connection of that, and I do think that's part of my reputation and my reliance. Something else that I learned from a friend who's, really, really, senior in, she's an engineer, is and I've actually seen books on it, but I heard about it from her first, is that I do kind of a brainstorm of not every day, every few days of all the things that I have got to get done. And
Yeah.
then I divide them up in what is a 3-minute task, what is a 5-minute task, and what is what takes longer. And I literally set a timer and I like attack my 3-minute tasks. And I will also say that if there is something that happens because someone sends me something and said, "Can you send me X, Y, and Z?" And I know it's gonna take less than 1 or 2 minutes, I do it right then, because then I don't even
Oh,
put it on the to-do list. Now, that does create some disruption, but it also keeps me moving on that, and I use my staff, like, we actually talked about this when you get gotten annoyed by Oj because he asks you to, "Where's the X, Y, or Z?" And you're like, "Honey, if you just look it up, you'd see it too." So
yeah,
I can't always find the X, Y, or Z. So I have no problem saying to somebody on my team, "Hey, so and so just asked for this. Can you please send it to them?" Even though I could send it to them, I
right,
know that I'm going to have to stop and look for it. Whereas if all I have to say is to my teammate, "Please," and they know that part of their job is to clean up shit in my wake because I'm not a shitty person. So
right.
that's a habit that allows me to keep a lot of responsiveness moving. I have a wardrobe strategy.
Yes, you
So,
do.
I have a very and always know when I wake up in the morning and I'm gonna go somewhere, I don't ever stand in my closet and go, "What am I gonna wear?" When I have something on my calendar and I know what I'm gonna do, I actually make the decision about what I'm going to wear. I'm like, "This is that's gonna be this outfit." And I have a very specific lineup of outfits that are
Your outfits are all, like, interchangeable, right? Very, like
they're interchangeable, but it's very kind of very uniform. So I only wear
yeah,
one brand. I wear a
yep,
brand called Maria Pinto. It can go in the washer. None of it has to be dry cleaned. It's all stretchy. It is beautiful, and I get most of it on sale, but I only wear her clothes. And that is great because I don't ever stress out about it. I hopefully I look polished. That's it. It always fits because it's got some stretch in it. And I almost always wear a
Yeah.
scarf.
Yeah.
So I've got a real brand, and folks that know me are like, "Oh yeah, she kind of does always have a scarf, or she always kind of." But I have a
Yeah.
very consistent look, and so that's one of my personal or my professional pieces. And then the other thing I do, we're actually going to do a podcast on this, but I have a very intentional exercise of
Mhm.
every time I go into a meeting or have a call, I ask myself, "How do I want to show up? What do I want to accomplish?" So if, for example, I'm talking with somebody who I haven't talked with a long time and I want them to feel like I've invested in personally, I'm like, at the end of this, I want them to see me a little bit more humanely. So I want to be more relaxed. At the end, I want them to feel like I've connected. And I usually set that goal on the front end. So I'll say, I'll have that intentionality. I'll get on the phone. I'll say, today I was hoping that we could, and then I set that goal in the first
Mhm.
3 minutes of conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to add? And then I go into the conversation and I always end the conversation on time. So if it's a
Mhm.
15-minute call, boom. If it's 30-minute call, boom. And what that does is I'm known for being really reliable when it comes to time management
Yep.
and organized when it comes to communication and getting things like if it's a board meeting, it's never longer than an hour. And so there is a level of kind of I would say that folks know that when they're working with me, we move at a pace and a speed that really respects their schedule. And so there's not a lot of anxiety around it. And so if I ask someone to do something with me, they know that it's not going to hijack their day, hijack their life, hijack their to-do list. So
That's
those are
awesome.
those are my those are mine. Those are mine.
Yeah, I love them.
Yours.
I have an almost anti-efficiency habit, but I found it's really important, and I think it plays into my personality, is that I try to make time for especially since the world is so virtual and on Zoom, I try to make time for personal connection on every call. And I can see in the personalities that I have on, some on my team and so there are the folks that really just want to stick to the agenda and get through the meeting. Like, hey, this is a 1 hour meeting. We have all these things to cover. Let's go to it. And Christine's about to derail it for 10 minutes because she wants to talk about the snow and that person's kid and the whatever. But I have found that that personal connection and interest in the people's lives is ultimately, I think, why people trust me and why I have deeper relationships with my clients. I have clients, that call me to tell me about their personal lives and the things going on with them. I have one that just called me because her mother is very sick and she was flying up from South Carolina to DC. And she said, I'd love to see you while I'm there. I don't know if there'll be time, but, my mom's really not in good shape. That's a relationship that she has now worked with me at 3 different places that she's been a CEO. That relationship far exceeds a work relationship because I took the time to get to know her, to hear about it. And it's a fascinating story. This is actually her biological mother, and she was adopted, and she found her biological mother as an adult. Anyway, very fascinating story. I know all about it because I really do take the time to connect with people. And I know sometimes on my team call, I'll get on and be like, hey, Chloe, what did you do this weekend? Oh, Lucas, did you and your girlfriend go out on a date? Did you go to that Italian restaurant? And I will take a good 15 minutes of talking to everybody. And there are the people who are like, could we be more efficient? Christine is off on a tangent. But I really think it's super important because if we worked in an office together, I would see them in the hallway, I would see them making the coffee, and I'd say, "Hey, how was dinner last night? What are you doing?" So I really prioritize it, and I know it drives some people nuts, but I think it's really important to create those personal connections. So that is a habit. It's probably more just a habit out of my personality and that I really like to know what people are up to. But that is I think that served me well over the years to make real connections. The other thing is from a professional standpoint, I believe there is a technology tool for all tasks. And I look for the most user-friendly, the simplest, the affordable, and the one that is there are not major roadblocks to people being able to easily adopt them. So, we've talked about this. I left the Microsoft world and went to the Google world because I found it to be a superior product from an ease of use perspective. So I'll give you an example. The other day, UVA has sent me these templates in SharePoint for me to use for my course this summer. They've added me as a user. It rejects me every time. I cannot get into SharePoint. I know on a Google Doc, I can get to it. No problem. I can share a Google Doc if I want to share it with the right person. They will not have a hard time getting to it. And I have ways that even if they're logged in the wrong way, I can help them get past that. So I found that gave my whole team just a level playing field of like, we all can understand how to use this. We use a simple, fabulous project management tool, and we use Slack.
Asana?
We use Asana, and we use Slack as our conversational tool, but also organization for every client. So tools and technology have really become the backbone of my business. And when we went all virtual, it became more important than ever because I couldn't just pop into someone's office and say, where's that creative for that ad? We had something that came up yesterday with a client where something had gone through many rounds of QA and there was a slight spelling error on a piece of creative that was seen while it was live. I have all the tools in place from a technology perspective to grab everyone's attention that needed to be on it yesterday and to have it rectified within a few minutes. And it was a weekend, So
you all can move so quickly, and on my team that would be like, someone would say something in WhatsApp, then we'd have to have an email, and then I'm not really sure where the latest one is. Well, who has the latest one? Well, can you grab it? Well, did they get it? Then we'd have to go back to WhatsApp to say like, is this what you want? Like, you are absolutely right that it's almost like changing lanes and changing cars, whereas everybody's in the same car, everybody's in the same lane.
Yep, and it was, I sent a quick text just to say, notice coming in on Slack. I need everybody's eyes on it right now. Everybody was on it. I mean, it was like literally less than an hour and everything was resolved.
That's a million.
And so, and I wouldn't have had to send the text if it had.
My next venture, we're setting me up for that because it's like I'm the opposite of things. Like when you ultimately do your audit of how I navigate through the world, you're going to go like this. Safira, what are we, 1995?
Well, it's just more work for you. It's more work, right?
It's a lot of friction. It's a lot of friction in the workspace. Yeah.
A lot of friction.
Yeah. And I keep a lot of stuff in my head, which is a problem. And my team, they are all siloed. So they anybody on my team can help me with X, Y, or Z. But if one of them is gone and I then have to step in on X, Y, or Z, it is like painful for me to step in for folks. Painful. And I've had a lot of folks out for being sick or personal time or vacation. And when you're a team of 4, boy, one person down is like you're working without an appendage.
Well, we have a process. We have a process for that. I can share with you. We have a while I'm out document that each person. So if anybody's going to be, other than like a single sick day, if you're going to be out for an extended period of time, you have a while you're out doc. Everything is linked in that doc, referred to in that document. There is no way I can't find what I need. And it's very clearly defined who's responsible for each client and each responsibility while they're out. Plus, they update the Asana tasks for the whole time they're out. So there's total accountability. So they're, like Lucas is going to India. I'm so excited for him. He got invited to a wedding in India. Yeah, we need Lucas. Lucas is hard to not have around.
Yeah.
He is planning now for this trip in April. And he will have a very clear line. We also have a woman named Angela that we can pull in to like cover design needs. So she will be briefed and prepped. And then literally it should feel not like there's a person missing.
Yeah.
Now, is it always perfect? It's not perfect, but but we really try to make it do.
You all do that so well. And, I have so many different projects with your firm and so many different clients with your firm. And it is the case that you all are able to move really, really quickly for me. And also it makes it more affordable for everybody. You all move quickly, so you're not spending as much time, therefore you're not charging as much. We can move quickly, so our clients, it looks better for them. So I completely agree that your ability to incorporate and enhance your productivity and your client services via technology is something that I just aspire towards.
Well, I love sharing it with people because I do think it's one thing we do well. One last habit that I have is I think it's really important to market yourself all the time. And this is something I need to actually improve because of time. I just have not, the habit has slid away. But so much of my work comes from the fact that I have talked about what I do and what M2M does in all sorts of ways. I talk about it in person. I talk about it on social media. I talk about it with friends of friends of friends. I market myself, my business all the time. And I don't do it in a way where I'm shoving it down anyone's throats. I literally had someone reach out to me last week that I was introduced to 3 years ago. And I made the point at the time. He basically told me, I already hired an agency, but great to know you. I had the opportunity to meet him in person, so I did it. Literally on the way to my uncle's funeral, I stopped where he was and met him for 5 minutes and said, I'm on the way to a funeral, but I wanted to introduce myself to you. And guess what? Last week he emailed me and said, I would love to pick up this conversation where we left it off 3 years ago. And
Amazing.
so, those things where I sold myself to him 3 years ago that I was someone worth following up with now. He may not work with me, but at least I had the chance to pitch
Yeah.
myself now and put a proposal out there. And so I do try to market myself. I want to market this podcast. Last night I was out with a bunch of women and I said, "Oh, by the way, you all listen to my podcast?" And they said, "You have a podcast?" I said, "Yes, here it is. Look at it. Sign up right now." So I'm not afraid to, and I think because I don't say, "Oh, I do all those services, you should definitely work with me." I just say, "Oh, this is what I do. I love it. It's so fun." It naturally creates the conversation. So that always be selling, yeah, do it in a nice, not obnoxious way, and it will really help you in life.
I could also improve on that a lot. That is a habit I can really. I was like, oh, my LinkedIn, I don't do anything on it. Why not? I absolutely should be.
Yeah, you need to brag about yourself. You do all sorts of cool shit.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean,
But that's the other thing is you
yeah,
can't say, "Well, no." Yeah, you do. It's not bragging, it's informing.
yeah.
It's
People
letting
are not
people know.
aware. People are not aware of the breadth of how I'm engaged, and I think it's
Yeah.
more finding opportunities to give that awareness, give that transparency. So,
I'll tell you number one way. Every time you do one of these cool things, I know you just told me all these things you're about to do. You're about to speak at a bunch of things.
yeah,
At least one picture. If it's you, a selfie in front of a logo, you with one of the people from the conference, get someone to snap a picture of you up on the stage and
yeah,
then say, this has to go on social media with a quick blurb
yeah.
that just says, and it could be you could do it on your own phone where you could just
Well,
say, had a great day today.
again, look at this. This is turning in from our habits to actually Christine getting Safira into the what century are we? What year are we?
No, it's just me being a know-it-all. It's just me being a
No,
know-it-all.
no, 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 no. This is absolutely. And I mean, honestly, it's all so easy now that it's not like, again, if things are, I just talked about that 1 minute, like if it takes 1 minute, I can do it. It probably would take me 1 minute to post myself on this. It would
Yeah,
just, it
you
would
just
just
have
need
to create
space.
the habit. You have to
Yeah.
create the habit, and it has to come up in your mind. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll challenge you. Make it a habit for these next couple speaking gigs to at
Yeah.
least take one picture, get it on LinkedIn. I think that will
Well,
that will serve you well.
and I will tell you, as I'm thinking about even my trajectory in my career, how I navigate with some of the habits that you do to help me diversify, become a more efficient CEO, grow my business. Like all of these things are really crucial for me to adopt in order to adapt into a more productive and lucrative place in my career. So I'm excited about following up with you on some of these things personally, and I'm really excited about once we finally set the time aside for you to audit my behaviors and like, okay, everybody, you have like Christine, who's like the technology genius, and Safira, who's like the technology cave woman. And here are the 5 things we introduced into her life that she is now doing that has brought her out of the cave and into the light. And I bet there are people out there, because you've told me some of them are your clients, that are actually like me, that like suck at all of those
So
things. So let's use me as like the litmus test and get that.
I think though that one thing, like, please don't beat yourself up about it. I literally think there is like a birth year in which if you were born before, you are at a severe disadvantage because I'm really close to what that cutoff is. I just happen to be technologically inquisitive, and my dad was always very tech early adopter. But I think like right around 1975, 74 in there, if you were born before that, you went through college without probably really utilizing email, there were so many things that you had to sort of learn on the spot
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
professional life
I mean, just to
without
give you an
prep.
idea, because I went to college in 1988 and I took a typewriter that had a screen, and you could type at the screen, and then you push print, and then it came out.
So that's how I did my college applications.
Yep, your word processor. There were the first iteration of the Apple computers at Boston College, but I didn't ever use it. And people had email addresses there, and AOL was the email address. I didn't never use any of that. So I really didn't adopt and adapt. And I also thought that social media wasn't going to take off. So the whole Facebook world, even like when I started my belly dance business, I thought, why should I tell the world who I am on the internet? Because isn't it enough if I just give them a good class in person? And what I've realized is it doesn't matter what you do in person. It matters how you were talked about on the internets.
Yes.
You could be terrible in person and still get talked about well and make $1 billion. You can be amazing in person and not get talked about on the internet and make no money. Like it was just shocking to me about what that was. And listen, I remember when Yelp first came on and people did reviews like, holy moly, I didn't have a Yelp strategy. I mean, all of that. I know y'all in the, like, who are not my age or way younger, you just can't believe that we lived in a time like this, but that is what happened.
But you're not unusual. Your age this is it. This is what I encounter with all of my clients. And a lot of them come around to being like, okay, I get it, but I'm not innate in it. It's too hard for me to immerse into now. It's beyond my interest to get to that place. So, I see it all the time. I think I'm really on the cusp, and I'm just lucky that I happen to like this stuff, because I think it's a real challenge, and I think it's unfair in so many ways to hold people accountable to it when it just wasn't part of their lives for a big chunk of their lives. But yeah, I think helping people with that is great. But I look at I can rely on these teenagers and 20-somethings to teach me stuff almost every day. And I'm lucky they're in my life. And I'll say to them, what is going on? What's this thing that everybody's doing? What does that mean? How do we do that? What's that called? So I do, and there are times where I'm like, I didn't even know to ask the question. I don't even know what that is.
Well, I'll tell you something that I did not say about my habits, but the next time we talk about it, I would like to be an expert on ChatGPT.
Oh, love ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT sits open. I have the app. I have the paid service. The app is open on my computer along with my Slack, my Canva, my Asana, my Spotify, and my Zoom, and my calendar. Those all sit open all day long. And ChatGPT, I go into ChatGPT and ask it for advice. I go into ChatGPT and I'll say, remember my podcast that you helped me do? I need a list of some new topic ideas. And I don't have to tell it about the podcast again, because it has all the knowledge about You'll Thank Us Later. I go into ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, remember that syllabus I developed for my digital marketing course? Could you help me flesh out my day plans for each of those classes? And it has all that. And there's all these things on like how to prompt it better. And I just go and I Google that and I'll say, I'm looking for a good prompt for ChatGPT for like redoing a resume. And it tells you how to ask the questions and how to do it. If you're not utilizing AI right now, you are literally wasting your time. And people teaching classes need to be teaching the students how to use AI and not treating it like it's the evil empire, because, hey, guess what? It's here to stay. It's not going away. And it's so helpful. It's so helpful. I will say
probably number one on our list. I've got it. This was a successful habits for Safira and Christine, but what really concluded is, holy shit, Safira needs Christine so badly that she has to schedule and prioritize time now.
That is not true. But here's one thing I'm just going to say, caveat with AI. You cannot turn your brain off. You have to read every single thing that comes out of it, because there is bullshit that will come out of it. It has literally cited law cases that don't exist, that it has put into briefs that you could look like a real fool.
Yeah.
So this is not you turn your brain off and you let AI do it. This is a tool like a calculator. Yes, we used to multiply by hand, but we learned a calculator made us faster and we could do more complex things once we had the calculator. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm like, look at me. I'm on there just like, okay, it's about ChatGPT and all the technology. This turned a very specific turn that I wasn't expecting, Christine. No,
I'm going to go up to my closet, wallow in wardrobe indecision. And I did clean my closet out this weekend, so it might be a little bit better, but there is no structure, no organization, and it's a total disaster. I'm going to go wallow in that, and then I'm going to not exercise today. And So just remember, there's a lot of habits. I will choose the couch and Bravo pretty much every time over exercise. So remind me of your good habits. I need them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully you'll thank us later and we will talk to you soon.